Start a couple minutes, everybody. All right, everybody. Hey, welcome to day 2 of the Note Investing Challenge. We have a couple things that we'll be talking about tonight. One will definitely be using LaneGuide.com. We'll go through that. We'll walk how LaneGuide is a great tool for you. And then we'll also spend time going through how to set up and market via email blast and why email is one of the most important things that you can do for your note business. So really excited, guys, as always, to have you all here tonight. Got a lot of great stuff we'll dive into. But first, let's dive into the first part here. All righty. All right, so using LaneGuide to find bank contacts. This is the part of day 2. When I started as a note investor back in 2008, it's hard to believe it goes back there. LaneGuide had been around for years. LaneGuide's been around actually about 40 years. And what LaneGuide is, it is a tracking tool. It's actually a guy out of Vegas formerly. Now he's out of Dallas, Richard Lane. He started basically a service to track who and what bought which and which banks. So you could track banks by using LaneGuide. Now, LaneGuide.com is just the automated version or the online version of the old manual that he used to have. Now, LaneGuide.com is something that I use on a weekly basis. I will tell you right now, LaneGuide.com is not 100% accurate. It's like with anything else that you use, the minute it gets updated, especially with the amount of changes in the secondary markets, banks being bought and sold, people coming and going, it is not going to be 100% accurate. But it is a great way, as I say, to proverbial prime that pump, to build you a list, relatively inexpensive, that you can start marketing to and start reaching out to start getting deals sent to you. Now, LaneGuide is not really expensive. It's about $165 a year. That's one of the few things that we'll talk about through this 20-week period or 20 different topics on finding over the next couple of weeks that you'll actually pay for it. But who would not want to have a list of names, phone numbers, and emails, or basically a Rolodex where you could reach out to asset managers and try to find the right person involved, or at least the right number? I think we would all raise our hands and say, yes, they want to do it. My question on here, for those that are joining us here, anybody that's using LaneGuide right now or has used it in the past, raise your hands here in the chat roll if you're watching this on Zoom. I'm trying to keep track on the Facebook group. Trying to see what's going on here, if it'll let me do it, but actually it's showing us something to be sold, so I don't get what's going on here. But anyway, so a couple people raised their hands, which is good. So let's see who raised their hands. So we had Mika's used it. Okay, good. Anybody else used it here? No. All right. Laura Blanc, no surprise there. Laura, I think you'll agree. Mika, you probably agree that it's a pretty good tool. It's not the best tool, but it's a great tool to really help you get started. And we're going to talk about not only using LaneGuide, but why we talk about it tonight is it really goes hand in hand with what we'll be talking about on the day 2 of the funding side here in a little bit. All right. So LaneGuide.com, a really great tool. I'm actually going to log into mine and kind of walk you through how we use it on a regular basis. All right. So LaneGuide, one of the greatest tools I think is out there. Like I said, it's pretty inexpensive. Let me log into this. I don't get paid to promote it. I'll just tell you that. All right, so let me share my screen here with you guys. New share, LaneGuide it is. All right, so LaneGuide.com here. pretty awesome tool. It's been around since 1957. And one of the most valuable things that you will find that you'll use the most is the search bar at the top, a name search, and then the search toolbox on the left-hand side. Okay. Now, like I said, LendGuide has tracked who's bought who, what bank got bought what. Obviously came in very handy over a dozen years ago. They still track it. Okay. Now, one of the most important things that you can do and use is go over here to the search toolbox. Now, you'll see a variety of things here on the left-hand side. A lot of these are for the mortgage industry that you're not going to be using. Okay. But the most important thing, and I only say this, I want to clarify it, this very first part where it says REO Asset Manager. Now, yes, I've said before that you're not going to be targeting REOs, but what LendGuide does is they actually lump note and REO asset managers in kind of the same bundle. Now, the beautiful thing about this is it allows for you to really pull a list of residential and commercial stuff, asset managers in the states that you like to invest with. And literally, if you pull with like the top 8 to 12 states, well, that's what I pulled, you're going to pull somewhere between 4 and 5 states, probably starting off with, or 2 to 3. But it's going to give you people that are lending in that state and a lot of good contacts to reach out. Now, if the names are wrong or the numbers are wrong, guess what? You've got a warm name and a warm number to reach out to other people at that bank via LinkedIn and other things like we talked a little bit about last night. Kudos to those of you too who took a little bit of action, started doing some stuff on your LinkedIn profile. Great to get some connections. Make sure you're posting in the group as well your LinkedIn profile into the thread we have going in the Facebook group. But anyway, you have the REO Asset Manager search. We'll spend some time on there. Advanced lender name, performance dashboard. We'll be doing REO portfolio analyzer, lender trustee lookup. Not really that big. Verification deposit. You're not going to really use that much. Mortgage-backed fund servicers. We'll look a little bit of that. Wholesale program search, lender trace, successor history that kind of pops in. Findroutingnumbers.com. You're not really going to use that. Industry track trends. Not really going to use it. Lending type search. You will use that. Okay. Primary classification search, okay. A reverse search, maybe a little bit, in the LendGuide Home. I would go to LendGuide Home and use it. You have a lot of note buyers that use it. And what's great is it gives you some tracking on some different things, okay? It gives you definitely some tracking on what a bank's portfolio have based off last year. They haven't or maybe they haven't updated the quarters yet for this year. But anyway, so let's just look at the REO asset managers. Let's go straight to the most useful tool. This is worth just the $165 a year. This is it worth right here. Okay, click on REO Asset Manager search. You pick up the REO property type. Let's just say residential notes. You can either residential, commercial, and you're going to pick a state. We'll just say Texas. Okay, just go down here to Tejas. Statewide, yep, county. Show primary department. Here's where you're going to want to change. You're not going to want to look at REO and asset manager. This is where you're going to want to change this to the special assets department. Remember last night we talked about searching for special asset managers on LinkedIn. So you click on there, company type, you can change this to banks, mortgage lenders, credit unions, asset management companies, government agencies, loan servicers, or finance companies. Here's the best thing. Just click on banks, okay? Just click on banks, all right? And we'll hit the search. It'll take a second here. And now, lo and behold, see what's going on here. See? I'm just trying to comment to people here. Try again. All right. So now you have a list of people that are supposedly lending in Texas of banks. And you can see here, it's a pretty good sized list. All right. Boom, look at all that, basically from A to Z now, or A to W, Wells Fargo. Now, some of these banks you're not going to deal with, but you see Academy Bank, Kansas City, Missouri, Mr. Dixon, and a toll-free number to call him. Now, what's great is you start looking at some of these, like Affiliated Bank out of Bedford, Texas, Gary Graham, Affiliated Bank, all right? And an email, ggraham@affiliatedbank.com, all right? Yay! And a phone number, all right? 817-589-0544. You can also see they've got a website, a lender track. We can look at that stuff. REO Commercial Bank, tells you the amount of total assets out there. Now, some of these numbers, I would not trust the US REO stuff. We're not really worried about that. The idea here, more than anything else, is just to create the list. All right. Now, the thing that's the one thing about Lane Guide that I dislike is it doesn't allow you to like download this. Okay. What you have to do is basically copy it all over and drop it into a WordPad doc or an Excel spreadsheet. And then a lot of these cells are unmerged. So I would spend some time with a VA or spend some time if you're really bored. All right. I'm just going to go over here to an Excel spreadsheet, a blank one. And I'm going to paste it in, and I'm going to share it here in just a second so you can see what it looks like. You see, not a very fun thing, okay? Yes, Dave, you hit the nail right on the head there, bud. Dave asked, wonder if you could hire someone from Fiverr or something to scrape the data from this. Yes, that's what I would do if I were you. Go to Fiverr, go to, pay 10, pay 15 bucks, send this list over, do this for you. Don't give them your login. But log in here and have them scrape it for, because that's what you'd be basically do. Each basically lender is about 6 to 7 cells. Some are merged. Takes a little bit of a while, but yeah, pay somebody on Fiverr to go in here, because now you've got a bank name, city, state, don't need their license number, contact name, contact email, and guess what? The contact phone number, which is great. So you've got a phone or an email and a name. And if those are wrong, guess what? That's okay. Find out who the new person is. Now you said, I used to work with great Mr. Dixon on special assets. So this is a beautiful thing. Now, if I just doing that, we say each one's roughly 7. Let's see how big this spreadsheet is. So right now it's down to 524. So basically if I take 6, it's 6 cells. Basically it's about 90. Oh, what is that? 100 would be 600. So 80, 86, 87 banks right there with Texas. Now that's great. Boom, that's pretty good for just Texas. Now what would I do next? I would go back, all right? I would go back to Lane Guide and pull a second state. So I would look at your top 3, top 5, top 6 states, all right? And that's what I would do. I would go back and forth and pull your top 6 states and do exactly like we just did on Lane Guide, all right? And do it for the next one. So we did Texas. All right, that's great. You're going to have some crossover, and that's okay. That's why you have but I would pull these lists, send them all, put them all in one spreadsheet, and then send it all over to your guy, your virtual assistant on Fiverr to scrub it for you. Now we did Texas. We're going to look at, let's just say my next favorite state, we'll just say is Ohio. Okay. Statewide. Primary is the special assets department. I would not waste time doing like, I wouldn't do credit unions. I would just stick to banks, okay? And hit search. Boom. Give a second. So now you see Academy Bank is right up on there, but now you got some different people. Wells, US Bank, it's Fidelity, Synovus Bank, which used not to be on there. Northern Trust companies. So you see, you get a whole nother bit of list. You get some crossover, but you get some new banks that weren't on the first list. And that is the beautiful thing I love about Lane Guide is literally you could pull in less than 5 minutes once you get logged on by going to the REO Asset Manager search and doing a search there by state. You can literally pull some great stuff for you. Brad asked a good question. Why not credit unions? We just don't see a lot of loans to credit unions, Brad. They're just not going to be holding on to a big portfolio. Spend your time with the banks. You might jump on and do some servicing companies. Let's look at servicing companies. I haven't pulled that in a while. So let's click on REO Asset Manager. Let's look at Texas again. Statewide, Special Assets Department, and then let's look at loan servicers and hit search. So it pops up there. So you got basically 2 servicers. That's not accurate because there's a lot more servicers in Texas than just 3. All right, we'll talk about a little bit about that tomorrow night on some ways we can look on licensing websites to find bankers, mortgage bankers, and companies that are doing business in Texas or other states out there for you. Okay, so that's what I would stick to. I stick to the banks. Wouldn't really spend your time on the credit unions. They're not going to have a big portfolio. Credit unions aren't usually doing a lot of mortgages to begin with anyway. But Lane Guide's a great thing. Now, here's another tool that I love is this name search up here, okay? The very top when you log in, let's say you're looking for a particular bank. Maybe you see on a foreclosure list a bank that's got 5 or 6, maybe it's not like Bank of America, but it's got a smaller bank name that pops up. So let's just type in, somebody want to give me a bank name. Somebody want to share something in the chat roll of a specific bank, not the bigger bank, Bank of America, Chase, Citibank, none of those, but give me a bank, something that you guys might be big enough, but may not recognize. It may be just in your state. I can pick one. All right, first one here is SunTrust, Donald Ellington, okay. SunTrust, we'll type that in, SunTrust, okay. SunTrust Bank. All right, so when we type in SunTrust, you see what happens, okay? All the names for SunTrust, okay? SunTrust Capital Markets, okay? That might be a good one to look at. BB&T Bank, branch, SunTrust Bank, Charlotte, North Carolina. Now, what you have down at the bottom down here, you have all these others that have used SunTrust, but they've been sold at some sort of bank, okay? Now, you have SunTrust Capital Markets. This is a bigger here, or Truist Bank. They changed their name, I guess. Okay. So what I like to do is look at the bigger banks. So SunTrust Mortgage out of Richmond, Virginia, or Truist Bank, or you can type in SunTrust Bank here in Charlotte, North Carolina. So let's click on that one, okay? See, also known as BB&T, AK, also known as SunTrust Bank, also known as Branch Banking and Trust, because Truist Bank has merged those, okay? BB&T, SunTrust, and Branch Banking and Trust, those basically merged. So now you've got SunTrust Loan Servicing, SunTrust Mortgage Loan Service, Susquehanna Loan Servicing Department, SunTrust Special Assets. That's what we're looking for right there. We're not looking for loan servicing. Remember, we're looking for the Special Assets Department, the Secondary Marketing, the Whole Loan Trading Desk, or the Chief Credit Risk Officer's Desk. Remember, we talked about that yesterday. It's the same thing here. So SunTrust Special Assets Department. Let's click on there. It's out of Atlanta. All right. Now you have a direct phone number that goes to them. 404-588-7122. Now, they may be working, it may not. A lot of times, we'll see a different name. So we had somebody else at Fifth Third. I think it was Stephen, and that's our Fifth Third. So let's click there, see what pops up for Fifth Third. I'd spell it right. Oh, Fifth Third. Fifth pops up there. All right, Fifth Third Bank, major bank here. You can see the major bank is the house, the cars, stuff like that. So let's click Fifth Third Bank, wholesale mortgage, Fifth Third Bank, Fifth Third Real Estate Capital Markets. Some might be checking out, but it's probably their REO department. Fifth Third Savings Bank or Fifth Third Bank. I would click on this one here because it's the major one with the star. All right. Mortgage Loan Servicing Department. You're not going to call them to buy notes. Northern Region Consumer Loan, not going to call them. Real Estate Loan Servicing, not going to call them. SBA, Lost Mit, no. Foreclosure REO Department, no. Commercial REO Department, no. These are the REOs. So they're not going to be the department to call about buying notes. So on this case, even though they don't have a Special Assets Department, I would call them the main office. Call the main office and try to track down somebody in special assets or secondary marketing, okay? Not every bank is going to show their Special Assets Department on here, which I wish they did. It would be so easy, all right? Now, over the left-hand side here of the bank, you can see kind of the profile information, the performance dashboard. We click on the performance dashboard. I'm not sure when this is. See, they haven't updated it for the fourth quarter yet. But you see what's nice, based on the Q3 of last year, they had 33 million in REO, 140 million in delinquents, and another another 39 roughly billion. That a B? Yeah, it's a B in other real estate loans out there. I know, yeah, but there you can see. So you can see that that's a little bit older performance history, stuff like that. It's kind of nice. Now, if somebody else, another bank, let's talk like here. Let me show you an example of another one. Sometimes you come across like Bank of the West is one that I use. I mean, you're familiar with them, but the good example of showing what you might see. So Bank of the West out of San Francisco. I'm gonna click here on their license number. Take me to their profile. Same thing. You see the REO Loan Service Center, the Consumer Loan Servicing Department, the Special Assets Department, right there, okay? But if you keep scrolling down, corporate headquarters. And those of you that are looking for commercial notes, guess what? Commercial Special Assets Department. Now, notice number 949-622-6024. 6024, if we go up here, it's a different phone number. Now, what's nice, the Special Assets Department, if you click on here, more contact details. Martha.torres@bankofthewest.com. You have an email and obviously a direct name, which is nice. Okay, if we go back to the commercial, it should be Dana. It was Dana.White originally that used to work for him. I think she has moved on or got married because her name has changed. Where is it here? Commercial, there we go. More contact details. And you see Dana.White at Bank of the West. Miss Dana White. Yep, sure. She got married and her name changed. But anyway, still names that you can drop. Even if Dana White's moved on and Martha Torres has moved on, they work next door to each other, basically, we found out from talking with them. But that's a great way to add them to a list that you can reach out to on a regular basis to start the process of reaching out to asset managers. Now, here's the big thing. I know many of you don't want to dial for dollars. That's okay. We'll talk about that later on. But many of you still can pull a list and can upload them to an email or send an individual email to them or reach out to them. Go see if they're over on LinkedIn and connect with them on LinkedIn and send them an invite there like we did a little bit yesterday. Okay? So that's one of the great things that I think will get you started, get you in that familiarity. You can do this part-time. You can do this after hours, on the weekend. As long as you've got power, you can do this. And it's one of the easiest things to do. Now, you pulled a list of Arizona, California, Texas, Florida, Illinois. You pulled in the top like 5 or 6 states out there. Guess what? You're going to find a lot of stuff. I don't know if you looked at, there was an article that came out on DS News just recently talking about the states that have the most amount of distressed debt. And the 2 Bs, Beaumont, Texas had the most number of largest ratio of defaults and foreclosures, and Birmingham, Alabama. So if I was an investor diving into the area, that's what I go. I would look at Texas. I would look at Birmingham. I would look at the like 4 or 5 states that they said there was an increase and look in those particular counties. But that's the nice thing. Now you can also do another thing that you do a little bit more generic here. Some people will do this. When I first started out, I was dialing for dollars. I would pull a list and just dial for dollars. Yes, I would pull the special asset managers list. And I'm gonna tell you right now, you pull that list, there's probably gonna be emails that are bad as people moved on. So when you send stuff out, it's okay if they bounce. It works a little bit better in your favor because if you take the time to find the next person, or now if it did bounce, you now know the setup of that person's email, Dana.White, right? If you say John Smith at Bank of the West, you can probably say john.smith@bankofthewest.com if he's the vice president of special assets or secondary marketing that you find on LinkedIn. Now, for those of you that are going to be targeting specific states, or specific asset classes, you can do a lending type search here, okay? One of the things we use, so we get lending type search. We pick the state, let's just say Florida, okay? Florida, okay? Lenders known to lend in the state or lenders with offices in the state. I always say lenders known to lend in the state because they'll give you a bigger number, okay? Now pick the category. Maybe you want to do auto loans. You're not gonna do auto loans, but let's say residential 1 to 4, and then you can say residential subprime, residential construction. I would say residential subprime, okay? Click on that. The lending method, retail or wholesale. I would do either, okay? What does that mean? Lending wholesale, basically they're taking mortgage brokers from across the country and they're doing loans. Retail means it's like a full bank branch. You got to go into a retail branch to get a loan. Do either, it's fine. Now what you want to do is lending genre, you want to change it. You don't want to be independent lenders. You want it to be regulated entities here and hit search. Now guess what you'll find, drum roll, as it's pulling the list. There you go. Now you have a huge list of banks lending in that state. All right. Some big banks, some small banks, like you see, like where is it? Comerica, Coastal Bay Mortgage. These are gonna be small. Okay. Citibank. All right. Yeah. Citibank's a big thing there. We just look on, you can see the credit union. This puts banks and credit unions in there. Let's just click on Central Bank here in Florida. Right? And they have 1 branch office in 1 state. You see, they don't really give you an opportunity to filter it by bank size. but now you get the main contact information and you'd be ready to rock and roll. Now you can also see, look at their performance dashboard from last year, and you can see they had only 60,000 in REOs, Q3, and other real estate loans, 155 million. So not really non-performing. That's why those smaller banks are harder to buy notes from. You want to look at bigger banks. All right. So let's go back to our list. And this is what I used to do. I would literally pull a list like this, and I would just print it out. I'd get rid of my computer, and I would dollar for dollars on my sheets of paper and make notes. And I would get transferred a lot. Okay. Anthony asked the question, would you be using the same process for finding performing notes? Yeah, Anthony. You could ask, hey, I'm looking to buy your non-performing notes. And then also if you've got any performing notes for sale. Most banks aren't going to sell their performing notes. You might find performing notes in some of your hedge funds and things like that, which we'll cover later on. But you could find it more so on performing notes. You'll probably find that for connecting with other note investors on LinkedIn, like we talked a little bit about yesterday. Okay. So yeah, you could use this if you're looking for performing notes, non-performing. The thing about performing notes from banks, especially right now, you might see some scratch and dent loans, SND they call it, okay? Scratch and dent loans are loans they've originated that might be missing a signature, or the borrower's credit score changed after closing before it got sold, or they were late the first month and then they had to basically, the lender had to buy it back from the parent bank. You have to be careful about buying performing notes because they'll send you performing notes, but with low interest rates right now at 2-3%, it's going to be harder for you to make any money on a performing note, and they're not going to take a 50% discount on a performing note, Anthony. Does that make sense for you? So I wouldn't necessarily use this strategy for performing notes. I would work with other note investors to find performing notes. I mean, you could do this. You may find something, but it's be much more effective on the non-performing side of the ballgame, okay? Now, one other thing here, we talk a little about commercial notes. Let's talk about lending type search for commercial, okay? Lending types, let's just say, once again, let's say Florida. And let's change it. Lenders known to lend in the state. And we'll change it to commercial. Commercial real estate. And let's go down here. Commercial reverse, we don't need that. Equipment financing, no. Commercial construction, that'll work fine. Retail or wholesale, either. And then let's say regulated entities or banks, exactly. Hit search. It'll pull up a pretty good list for you as well. There you go. First Manatee Bank. You've got a big list there as well. A lot of the same names out there, okay? Century Bank, let's just look at that one. Tampa, same thing, main office there, one bank in one state. So that's how I use LendGuide. I like using this, the REO asset manager search, to pull a list of asset managers to call out and start, my email blast and start my dialing for dollars off of that. That's the low-hanging fruit there for you to find some stuff. Have they been called? Some have been called, but honestly, not many people are dialing for dollars. A lot of people put them in emails and reach out to it, but they won't follow up. And the key to this, more than anything else, is kind of what we're going to talk about here on part 2, the funding side of things. It's just as important to the follow-up marketing. Yes, I would reach out to them on LinkedIn. Yes, I would reach out to them via phone call, email, LinkedIn, and rinse and repeat. 80% of sales you can come up to the 5th contact. If you just call a bank once and that's it, they're not going to follow back up with you. They want to deal with those that follow up on a regular basis. If you've ever called an asset manager just once and then never followed back up, shame on you. Guess what? We've all done it before. You know how you solve that? Pick up the phone and call them again. All right. But LendGuide, like I said, $165. It's well worth it. I know some people have used, they've split they went splitsies, $80, and they used it. They have one login, but it's well worth it to kind of dive into it and use those things. The name search. All right. I use the name search quite often for specific banks. If I see foreclosure lists of banks that are foreclosing and I don't recognize the name, I'll jump on there and see how big they are. Lending type search, and then the REO asset manager search there for you. So questions about this? That's really what you're going to use LendGuide for more than anything else, is to go to REO asset manager, pull a list, put it in a spreadsheet, scrub it, put it in a clean name, email, phone number, bank, city, state, and be rocking and rolling that. One of the things that we did a couple years back, actually, I think about 2 years ago, 3 years ago, is we did a banking blitzkrieg, we called it. And what we did is we had 25 of our mastermind members, our coaching students, and what we did over a 4-week period, or really a month-long period, is we gave people lists of banks. No, so we would pull a list for Georgia, pull a list for Florida, and give people 50 to 100 banks to call and they would get a new list every week if they just provide their calling list. Now, if they stopped and didn't do it, then they don't get the whole list. But if they stuck around to the very end, they would get the list of contacts all combined. Now, out of those phone calls, we ended up with over 1,500 direct emails, and then roughly about 3,500 names and phone numbers of people out there, and a big chunk of LinkedIn profile links. So it's been a very, very powerful tool. It may be time to refresh that and do that again here in the near future. But anyway, LendGuide, a valuable tool. Yes, you're going to spend a little bit of money on marketing. This is one valuable source for you to find that marketing tool that works well for what you're doing now. So questions, comments, concerns on using LendGuide before we move on to our next lesson? You don't need the disc version, just get the online version. If you're going to order it, just get the online version. It's the easiest way to do it. Okay. David asked a question. So when searching for notes, the official name to search for is special assets, but not REO. Okay. Here's the thing about LendGuide. LendGuide lumps notes and REO asset managers into one search engine on here. Okay. So David, you're going to use the search engine here on the side, the REO asset manager. Yes, some of those names you're pulling list will be REO asset managers. Other can be notes. They don't separate it off. They lump it all together. So if you're using LendGuide, yes, you're going to do the REO asset manager search, but you're not looking for REOs. We're looking for notes, but this is how that LendGuide does it, just for this one thing. Okay. Terry asked a good question. How does this compare to the FDIC website or even Distress Pro? I'll throw that in here. This is just tracking who buys who and phone numbers. It's not going to give you a percentage off the FDIC website. FDIC website, that's looking at specific banks, quarterly filings, and things like that. This is more who bought who. This is basically like the Rolodex for banks for you. Okay. FDIC website's not going to give you a lot of the internal numbers. They're going to give you the quarterly reports and what they have on file, what they're filing for the quarter, but they're not going to give you all the internal numbers and who got bought by who and other search stuff like this does here. Okay. That makes sense for you, Terry? Good question. David, does that make sense now for you? This is the one weird thing that you're going to embrace REOs. I mean, it's the one thing that aggravates me that you wouldn't split it up, but you know, for $165 a year, he's not making a lot of money from everybody on this. And it's a valuable tool to use that, you know, going forward. All right. He's crying about Tankerous guy too. I reached out to him a while back. Said, listen, I'm willing to send you the updated emails and stuff like that. So you'll cut me in for a piece of your membership. You don't want to do anything like that. I'm like, okay, never mind. Yes, David, when somebody talks about REOs, they mean actual real estate owned. That's what REO stands for. An REO stands for real estate owned. That means a bank has already foreclosed and taken the property back. There's no note attached to it anymore. Okay. We're looking for notes. And now if you're looking for REOs, and that's one of the things that you want to do, you want to deal with the note wrap, this would be a great way for you to use it as well, too, for you. Okay. As I said before, this is the tools that we'll go through, you can use to help you find deals. Most of them are being geared toward notes, but a lot of them, the side product of notes is, guess what? Foreclosures, REOs, real estate, you know, bank foreclosures. Those are REOs there for you. It's a side product of what we do and what we see. There's oftentimes we'll get lists of REOs sent to us that come from a bank or a note investor, or if I'm bidding on a note and the bank has already done most of the heavy lifting, they're taking a foreclosure. They don't sell at the foreclosure auction. They'll often accept my bid on the note as a bid to buy the REO after they've gone through the auction. So it's kind of a win-win there for you. Okay. Any other questions before we move on to the next part of what we're talking about tonight? No, David, you're missing the point here. Once they foreclosed, they're going to sell the REO off. There's no note attached to it. The note they've already foreclosed and wiped out. They're not going to owner finance a property. They're going to list it with a realtor on the MLS and let them sell it off. There's not going to be another note to buy that property back. Okay. All right. Moving on. If you have a question, David, better yet, drop me an email and we can talk about it offline there for you. Okay. All right, day 2 here, guys. We're going to be talking about using email blast to fund get funding for your deals. Now, I'm not talking about sending emails every day. I'm talking about a drip marketing campaign to your warm database, the people that you're networked with, the people that you know, business cards, contacts, people you've met at workshops, seminars, whether it's in person or virtual, people that you meet at your real estate clubs. Email marketing is still one of the number one sources for marketing for 85% of businesses. And the thing with emails that you have to realize, it's literally building a relationship one email at a time. We're not talking about writing a novel. We're talking about short, sweet, to the point, so that you can market and start getting the word out on what you're doing and getting your audience, getting your tribe. We all have tribes that surround us. We all have tribes, people that we work with, we have fun with, family, friends, all that stuff, people who went to school, whatever, communities. We all have tribes. People are looking at things. And here's the number one thing I want you to remind. Everybody's a buyer, everybody's a seller, and everybody is a funding source for sure, okay? Everybody is a funding source. Everybody's looking to make money. Everybody's looking for retirement. Everybody likes to talk about real estate. That's why HGTV and Flip This House are so exciting, the top shows that they are, because everybody wants to be a real estate entrepreneur, okay? If you can start sharing your journey, start sharing what you're focused on, it'll help you get that word out. And here's the biggest mistake I see, and I see this from teaching thousands of people, thousands of investors, that people wait until they have a deal before they start marketing for money. That's the biggest no-no. Don't wait. As you're finding deals, as you're marketing for deals, start marketing your journey. Start sharing what you're doing to your audience so they're ready to rock and roll when you have something ready to rock and roll. Remember, last night we talked about in day 1, lesson was on using case studies. Part of the reason we talked about case studies first is that gives you something to kind of talk about. Not the everything, and we'll talk about kind of the formula that we use in marketing and we use with a lot of our coaching students to help them find success. But email is still another one of the most important things. And part of the reason are the stats behind it. So let's talk about that. Is email worth it? And the answer to that is yes, okay? The number of active email users forecasted to reach 4.3 billion in 2 years. Okay, 294 billion emails were sent and received each day. Think about that. That's a lot of emails. Okay. Good stuff. Oh, you got plenty of offers. All right, just a number of things. Okay. Average expected ROI. Here's the thing: if you're a marketer, the average expected return on investment is $42 for every dollar you spend on email. Now, here's the thing: some people are like, oh, email's dying, email's no longer valuable. Yeah, it's still valuable. Still a 4,200% return on investment. Used to be 4,400, so it's dropped a little bit with the use of SMS, text messaging, social media. Okay. Nearly 9 out of every 10 marketers use email marketing to distribute content organically. And that's what we're talking about, just sharing what's going on in your business, in your life, starting to get the word out once a week to your audience. And here's the great thing: it does not need to be long. Right? Don't be long-winded. Just tell them what the heck is going on, all right? Emails with personalized subject lines generate a 50% open rate, higher open rate. So if you can add somebody's, hey, Jim, hey, Catherine, hey, Stephanie, to the subject line, it increases the open rate. It also helps with the spam. Okay. If you add a video to your email, it increases the click rate by 300% because people will click on a video much more likely than clicking on a link. Surprise, surprise, surprise. Okay. Clicking on a video is 300% more likely than a link. Okay. So your email can be short, talk about something. If you're going to be long-winded, do a video, do a short 2 to 5 minute video, and boom, share that video there. Short intro about what the video is about, and then people can click off it. Okay. Average open rate in the real estate industry, realtors, mortgage brokers, investors, is somewhere around 19% open rate. So basically, you send an email out to 100 people, only around 19 are opening it. You have to. That's why it's important to rinse and repeat. Rinse and repeat on a regular basis, once a week. If you only send an email out once a month, guess what? 80% of the people on your email list don't know what the heck you're talking about. Okay, they don't even know what you've got going on. So this is why you're going to see it in here a little bit. I'm going to tell you, like, send it once and then repeat and send it again. Same thing for asset managers. Okay, send it again. Now the best day to send email is Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. Now it's actually Tuesday's the number one day. Why do you think that is? Well, because Mondays, everybody's busy getting back to work from the weekend. They're busy putting out fires, what happened over the weekend, okay? Same thing, I say this all the time. Don't send an email on Monday to asset manager, send it Tuesday. Now, the number 2 day is Thursday, okay? This is why when I say sending out to asset managers, send it on Tuesday and then send it on Thursday, get another 48 hours later. Third day is Wednesday. So when you send an email out to your database, I like sending a Sunday nights at 7 p.m. actually work really well for our audience as well. But overall, what they say here on average, Tuesday, Thursday, Wednesday in that order are the best times, okay? So if you send an email out on Tuesday, then send a follow-up email on Thursday, okay? All right, well, Wednesday's not the most popular, do the third number one, okay? Now, look at here. Here's, you can kind of see optimal day of the week. You can see it's all roughly, Monday's a little bit lower than it is on Tuesday or Wednesday. Thursday has a pretty good open rate, but this is distribution of subscribers on an optional day of week. Saturday and Sunday, really low open rates. Why? Because people aren't in their computers, they're sleeping late, they're trying to have fun. I don't like to send an email on Friday after 3 o'clock. If I have to send something for a Monday thing, I want to get my email before 3 o'clock because most people have checked out already. All right, now best time to send an email is here. I found this a little interesting. 10 a.m. Okay, 10 a.m. on a Tuesday is the best time to send an email. Okay, send emails at 10 a.m. Get it out by before noon. They say 10, 11, depending on your time zone. Okay. Another time that works really well is people are checking their email before they go to bed. So 8 p.m. All right. 8 p.m. does really well. If you're going to send it later in the day, in the afternoon, send it at 2 p.m. Okay. Now, if you want somebody to take action, you might send it at 6 a.m. also Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, because a lot of people start their day early. So I just don't like to send it that early, but I will send an email at 10 a.m., 11 o'clock. A lot of the time, it's actually when we try to have our videos on YouTube release somewhere between 10 and noon. Okay. But here you go, 8 p.m. The PM night thing, 8 p.m., 10 p.m., and 12 p.m. are loaded, but your 10 a.m. is the number one, 8 p.m. second, 2 p.m. You kind of see that swap things for you. So I would be marking that down. You're going to send an email out during the day. Look at those time frames as the day of the week that you're sending it out to. The biggest mistake I see with email blasts is people get so excited about it and they send it out Friday night at 7 p.m. They're like, nobody opened. They're sitting there waiting for people to open. I'm like, well, yeah, nobody's open up. They're out having fun. They're out at dinner. They're out at a movie. The last thing they want to look at is email about some promotion. All right. So if you're promoting a deal, keep that in mind. Sunday night, well, it says on here, still does well. Sunday about 7, 8 o'clock at night, people start looking to see the week. But then sending out Tuesday, Thursday, Wednesday. All right, going from that route. Right. Another thing that works really well, you can see average email opens by hour. You can see nice email when they do different studies out there, roughly about 11 a.m., 10, 11 a.m. And that's by the time zone of your audience. Now, if you're using like a MailChimp will allow you to, if you're going to have a paid version of MailChimp, it allows for you to set a specific time that goes out for your audience. Like they have a thing called Time Warp with MailChimp. It's a paid feature with MailChimp. Pay a little bit extra. I think it's $5 extra a month, but it'll actually identify by IP addresses and stuff like that, the time zones of your contacts. So if you got people on Eastern Standard or Central or Mountain or Pacific, you can have it go out as long as you schedule it ahead in advance. Like, oh, if I wanted to go out at 11 a.m., their time zone, and set it up. So it's kind of a nice thing. So keep that in mind early in the morning, trying to get an email out ahead of time. Because usually at 10, 11, they're like first coffee break, starting to look for the lunch break. And then like 4 o'clock in the afternoon sometimes works well too, as people are starting to space out for the day. Okay. Now, they said, here's the thing that CoSchedule put together here for us, is if you're going to test your emails for the best days and times to send. So if you're going to send an email out to your audience, look at the open rate, okay, and track what works best for you, what works best for your audience. Now, yes, you may have a higher than 19% open rate because you've got a warm list. It's a small list of people you know, people you communicate with, and kudos to you. But the bigger your email list gets from networking, connecting with people on social media, the lower your open rate is going to be, right? And the longer your emails are, if they're continuously long, people won't open it. They'll start, oh, I don't want to read that book that they wrote. So that's why we'll talk about in a second here, the length of your emails, okay? So you may want to take a screenshot of this, the best days and times to send. So Tuesday, Thursday, 10 a.m., Wednesday, 10 a.m. You can also see at night there. Wednesdays, Tuesdays in the afternoons, Tuesdays in the morning as well too. So maybe plan out your first 12 emails. You're sending like one email out Tuesday 10 a.m. and then send a follow-up email out, the same email out Thursday to those that didn't open the first email. And you do that through your CRM tool, a customer relationship management tool like, or email service provider like MailChimp, Aweber, Keep, SendGrid, Mandrill. There's a whole variety of different email services out of Constant Contact. Really does not like real estate investors, so that's why I don't really talk about them much. Okay. Now, how long should your email be? Okay. And here's the thing, short and to the point. Keep it simple, silly, not long at all. And this is the same thing to your warm market. It's also the same thing to bank asset managers. You don't want to be too long. Okay. In the job, and here's the title too. They say that the shorter your title of the email is, the better it is. Okay. If you can say a word with an emoji a lot of times, it not only saves time, but it gets the word across. Because honestly, most email accounts, when you send an email out, when they're looking on somebody's phone, stuff like that, it may only catch the first 20 to 30 characters. Anything longer than that, they're not going to see or read. Okay. Like I said, subject line, 1 to 5 words. Hey, just saying hello. What's going on? Want to grab some coffee? You know, looking for some little real estate house emoji comment. And here's the thing, I don't hardly use any emojis in my marketing with that stuff. And I realized by doing this research for you guys and talking about to share this, I need to use more emojis. Some of my lines, some of my titles are too long. Okay. Count characters, not words. This is an interesting thing. You want your subject line to be less than 50 characters. Okay. And you want to think about who you're writing for. Who are you writing to? Think of the individual. Okay. When I think I'm writing an email, a lot of times I've actually thought about the person who I write to. And I have a male investor. Her name is Laura. I'm sorry. His name is Steve, and a female investor named Laura. That's who I basically write to, because I have 2 people that open my emails most of the time. And they like everything. So I think I'm writing for them. What would help Laura or Steve? Okay. So I keep it professional. All right. I try to be personalized. If I'm writing to an asset manager at the bank, it's a little more professional than an email that I send out to my warm investors. What are you writing about? What is the topic? Hey, here's a deal that I'm working. Check out my case study on the deal of the week in San Antonio. Or hey, I'm looking at a deal. I've got this deal I just closed on, or a deal that I'm looking to fund. This is why pictures or videos. Remember we talked about this. A video in your email be opened or clicked on 300% more times than a link. Kind of email is it? Is it professional? Is it a little lighthearted? Are you making fun? You know, it's like about the holiday ones. Hey, happy Thanksgiving, happy Turkey Day, happy Valentine's Day, happy Snowmageddon. Okay, happy 2021. You want to keep them kind of short and sweet. Now, data suggests the ideal length of an email, and I found this interesting, is between 50 and 125 words. All right. Now, for me, that's speaking like 10 seconds. Emails this length had a response rate above 50%. Wow. Okay. The short and sweet email. Okay. A similar study found emails with approximately 20 lines of text, no greater than 20 lines of text, or about 200 words, had the highest click-through rates. Think about that. 100 line, or basically, 10 lines and then 10 lines having a link that works well. And we see that in a lot of the heavy marketers out there. So I found that extremely interesting. All right. Now, here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. Anybody surprised by that? Anybody have any questions so far about that? I don't care what service you use, email service provider, whether it's MailChimp or, like I said, Keep or Constant Contact. The idea is just to use something. Everybody's got a stack of business cards at home that they've been collecting. Maybe you haven't collected much this last year because of Captain COVID, but maybe you did collect a lot, or you've got a lot of contacts or database, stuff like that. Put them in a database. Upload that list, first name, last name, email. I use city, state, phone number. Those are about first name, last name. That way I can merge it. City, state. I don't even use zip a lot of times. But the reason why I use that, because if I have a deal, say in San Antonio, I want to be able to go through and filter my list by people in Texas or those in San Antonio who might be willing to look at the deal or buy it or fund it or whatever. Okay. So it's the same thing. Asset managers, keep it short. Hey, what do you have in your books? It's kind of the same model, but look at your emails. I know that I'm going to be looking through my emails with a fine-tooth comb, trying to make sure it's short and sweet. and straight to the point as best I can. I look for more emojis coming across the board. So questions here from somebody. Do I know if the FreedomSoft, Infusionsoft, et cetera database show open rates? Yeah, Infusion, yeah, exactly. All of your email service providers, once you send an email, they'll show an open rate. They'll show you how many emails went out successfully, how many bounced, how many opened, how many people clicked. You can actually usually click on it and see exactly who clicked on it or who opened it. And that allows for you to even set it up so that if you're going to send up a follow-up email, most of your email service providers will allow you to send it without sending it to the same people that opened it already. You send it to the same list, but those that didn't open the first email. Okay. So it's a lot, deals with campaign activity and things like that. MailChimp is probably the easiest thing for you guys to use starting off with. And that's what we recommend. I mean, you're very easily using the lane guide and a few other things. You're going to be beyond the free account of 2,000 contacts that MailChimp will give you on a free account. The idea here, ladies and gentlemen, is remember that 42-to-1. You got to use it to get value out of it. All right. If you're a race car driver or NASCAR, but your car never gets out of the garage, not really worth that money. Okay. Most valuable thing you can use is using this and start using this on a daily basis. One of the things that I used to do is anytime that somebody would opt into my email or give me a business card that I would meet at a networking club, I would send them an email, just a quick, hey, it was nice to meet you. Nice talking with you. Love to talk with, love to add to my database. Now, the number one thing that we look at, here's the thing, number one success thing that we've seen from all of our classes that I've taught in the last 13 years, or 12 years, whatever it's been, in teaching classes and working with people, is we always saw the most successful people were the ones that sent out an email follow-up within 24 or 48 hours to the people they met. End of it. Hey, it was great meeting you at the expo. It was great meeting you at the Note Camp. It was great meeting you at the meetup group. Love to talk with you. Love to add you to my list if that's okay on the different deal flow. All right. And we talked last night about Octopus CRM. I love this feature because I'll reach out to investors. Like tonight, I made 2 contacts with Austin people that I sent out earlier today. They reached out to me. Oh yeah, I buy in Central Texas, San Antonio, South Austin, New Braunfels, that area, Kyle, which is just south of me. I was like, great. Can I get your email in case I come across something? So that's what I did. I put her email in, her first name, last name. She's like, please email me anytime you get something. I'm like, I also have a newsletter or a podcast. Like, oh, send it to me. Just add value. Now, here's the thing to keep in mind. Some people are like, what the hell am I going to talk about on a weekly basis? I'm not that interesting. Anybody else feeling that way? Raise your hands for me. If you're feeling that way, what am I going to talk about? Not that interesting. Some people are being honest. Thank you. Thanks, Donald, Anthony. I get it. Look, I get it, bro. What am I? Here's the thing. Every month has a holiday. Okay. That's one thing. Happy holidays. Guess what? You got 12 emails right there written. You could send an email for Happy New Year, Happy Valentine's Day. What's March? March is going to be St. Patrick's Day. Okay. April Fools. May, Mother's Day, Memorial Day. June is what? Father's Day. July's 4th of July. August is back to school. September is Labor Day or Patriots Day. October, guess what? Is Halloween, Steph's favorite holiday. Then you have Thanksgiving a couple weeks later, and then of course Christmas in December or whatever you celebrate. Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, whatever it might be. So there's 12 of your emails, okay? Catherine Bell says that's why we have Steve. Steve! Anyway, have them film the videos, okay? So, but that's one time. Now, another thing could be your case studies. Remember we talked about this last night, case studies. Past and present case studies. Somebody else's case study. Focus on a case study a week, or that could be 2 studies. You do the first email, and then a third email could be case studies, provided they don't fall on your holidays. And then the fourth thing could be something fun you're doing, like, oh my God, power is out. I'm stuck at home writing this in the cave, okay? The 18th century Austin, Texas, whatever it might be. Hey, we're doing something fun, or hey, I'm traveling to the IMN conference, or I'm attending an expo. What are you doing this week? That's the whole point, is people don't want just the stoic stuff that a lot of businesses do. People actually invest with people. No surprise. But if you can share, it's okay to be yourself. Just be yourself. Everybody has something interesting. Share your hobby, share your passion. I was surprised this last year. People didn't like, I mean, people liked the images and stuff, but the people when I talked about gardening, or when we've talked about our travel in the past, that always got people excited. And what we found too is that in a lot of our masterminds and our going on coaching institutes, there's a lot of crossover. People either are musically inclined, or they're homeschooling their kids, or they have similar hobbies. Talk about your hobbies. That brings the personality out. Be yourself. Okay. If you're a big fan of politics, I would probably avoid that. Same thing. I wouldn't go the religion route. I would be the bartender. Laws in bar, no politics, no religion. I know that's hard these days, but I would just be talking about real estate stuff, fun that you're doing. And if you're going to kids or going to church camp or something like that, that's totally fine. But that's the same. One holiday email, that's 1/4 of the month. A deal case study, something you're bidding on. Like Catherine, you guys probably had a lot of people when you sent out an image of the deals that you were working on 171 assets. You probably got a lot of people that reached out to you, like said, hey, I'd like to fund some deals. Get me involved. Okay. I know Derek Elder. I know Montrese. I know everybody that's done that before. When they send a map out, when they've done a batch geo map of mapping like a bunch of older either deals that they're working on or tapes they're breaking down, people get excited about that. Hey, here's a deal I'm working on. Let's put your lazy asses to work. Just start sharing your journey is one of the most important things that you can do. All right. One of the most important things for you to do is just share it. And I just want to open up for questions. I mean, everybody's email is different. All right. Some people use MailChimp, and that's probably the easiest thing to do. The most important thing I would tell each and every one of you guys is to get on there and start using it. Make it simple. It doesn't take a lot of work to do it. Yes, is it another expense? Yes, will you spend $35, $50 a month? I wish I was spending $50 a month. Okay. I wish I was spending $50 a month on email. I spend a lot. We almost spend probably about 10 times that. If not, no, probably 20 times that any month-to-month basis. But we do a lot of email blasts about marketing and deal flow and other things we have going on. The idea here is to share. 80% of email, 80% of sales are made at the 5th contact. And the biggest thing, I've sat down with people, investors that were running funds. I'm like, okay, how often are you emailing your warm contact list? Once a month. I'm like, once a month? You don't have anything more exciting going on than once a month? Well, I don't want to send too many emails. I'm like, how are you going to raise capital? If 80% of sales are made after the 5th contact, and if you're trying to get people to buy you, that's sales, fund your deal, you've got to share on a regular basis. If you're a mortgage broker, if you're a realtor, you're sending emails, they bang this into your head with a bat. Heck, if you're a pizza joint, you're sending out emails to your audience. Hey, you want to buy our pizza? Not more than once a month. You're open a lot more than once a month. So I'm not telling you to do it daily. I'm telling you once a week, a newsletter, something short and sweet. One of the most effective marketing tools I've seen from a guy that raises millions of dollars. We're talking hundreds of $1 million a year. He's a buddy of mine out of Georgia, Atlanta. And what he would do is pick 4 documents, 4 articles that he would either get on DS News, Housing Wire, something to do with real estate investing that affected everything. And that was what he would send out every Friday, was his 4 articles. Now, I don't know why he sent it out Friday. It just worked well for him. But he sent it out once a week, 4 articles, the news of the week, he called it. Short little article, his idea of what's going on in the article, why you should read it, and then link to the article. And that was it, 4 articles. And he wasn't really writing around. He was just commenting what you guys are mostly doing on Facebook groups right now. He did this every week for years. He still does it to this day, if I remember correctly. 100,000 people have opted into his database. And that's why he's able to raise so much capital, because he started with 1 email once a week out on 4 articles. And he couldn't think of something interesting to talk about. He went to the news, found something about real estate, about markets, about what's going on in the industry, why it's important as investors, things like that that people would find interesting, that he found interesting, and shared it with his journey. And that's one of the most valuable things you do. Your email blast, ladies and gentlemen, most of you aren't doing enough. And that's the problem for most of you. You're not doing enough. You're trying to do the bare minimum. You're trying to squeeze by. I'm just going to fund it with a 20 grand in my account or 50 grand in my account. That's not a way to live. That's not a way to fund. If you want to do bigger things and raise hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, you need that. My good friend Joe Block with Bullseye Capital, he runs a hedge fund symposium every year, and he's helped investors put together close to 200 plus different funds. And he talks about crowdfunding. And what's great is Joel and I met years ago in Las Vegas at the first ever crowdfunding convention. And one of the big things is funding, crowdfunding. Think of that word. It's made up of 2 words, crowdfunding, crowd Funding, okay? Funding does not come first. The crowd has to come first, ladies and gentlemen. How do you build the crowd? You have to be in front of them. You have to market to them on a regular basis so that they, when you have a deal, they're ready to fund it. But if you have a deal, but you have no crowd, no network, no nothing, guess what? It doesn't do you a bit of good. Then you're not going to get that deal funded because you haven't built your crowd. You haven't built your tribe. You haven't built your cheerleaders, people that like to see what you're doing. They're following you and they're ready to stroke a check, because most people would rather write a check than actually get out there and do it themselves. Okay. What's going on in this market with so many defaults and with them kicking the can down the road a few more months for foreclosure default? Who knows? We already seen increased numbers in different counties out there. And that's one of the most important things that you guys can do is just start communicating. Hey, what are you going on? Since we don't have that interaction on a personal basis, on a day in, day out basis, most of us are working from home, or you're reduced behind masks and can't get within 6 feet, which that's another story. Start communicating. Hey, what's going on this week with you? How are you doing this week? Here's what's going on with me. And that could be one of the most valuable things that you can share with your audience, and people really like it. Honestly, as long as you're providing content, you're kind of short and sweet. Remember, there's things. 20 lines of text, a video gets 3 times, when you include videos, it gets 3 times the amount of 300% of clicks versus links. 50 characters in your title or less. And that's really the magic. Hey, here's what we're doing. What are you doing this week? Love to hear from you. Let's schedule a call. And one of the easiest things you can do to get people out there. So that's all that I have for you for day 2 today, ladies and gentlemen. Any questions, comments, concerns from you out here? One of the things that we're doing is with the VIP stuff, that you'll have some sample emails that we send to asset managers, some sample newsletters that we send out to people, stuff like that. Some to help you prime the pump and get a bit of a feel for it. Everybody's going to be unique and different what you're doing, but that's one of the things that we're doing with the VIP ticket. And when we're done with all this, is I'll have some of the samples of that stuff for you to use and rely off of. So if you're not ready to rock, guys, we'd love to have you be a part of that. If you'd like to go beyond the 5 days, sign up for either the Gold Pass to get all 20 days or the VIP Pass. Not only get the replays and everything to the full 20 days, but a lot of other great goodies along the way as well. Okay. Thank you, Ron. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Donald. The idea here is you're struggling. If you've got your MailChimp account set up and it got shut down or something like that, when you start a new email account, one of the most important things to do is you can't dump 5,000 contacts into it. You probably got started at 100 and season it a lot of times too. I've seen people these days try to dump in 500, 700 asset managers. Like, no, you got to upload 100 at a time. Send an email out first at 100. And really, that's about the most. Add 100 at a time and email to the 100. After you get an email or 2 out, then you can combine those lists together and be ready to rock and roll and save some things, okay? Great. Awesome. Thanks, Dave. Thanks, Doug. Thank you, Henry. Thank you, everybody that's on here tonight for day 2. If you know somebody that might be interested in jumping on this, feel free to share, okay? We'll see you all tomorrow night, provided we've got power.